It's me again. They hate me, that's why they give a fuck about me at the same time. As always, JD Miles, the MGTOWs they love to hate, even the ones that claim everybody loves to hate them, loves to hate MGTOW at the same time, and I'm back again. Now, before we get started, shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson for bringing this to our attention. I'll leave the link to his full video in the description box. Go check it out. But at this moment, I gotta get into Boyce Watkins' ass real quick. Real quick. Real fucking quick. Because you see, Boyce Watkins wants to jump in front of his camera trying to shame black men, all because they don't want to deal with single mothers, in which, by the way, single motherism is not just a black thing. It's a problem all throughout. Each and every race has their own fair share problems when it comes to single motherhood. Why everybody thinks this shit is just a black thing, I don't know. But enough of me babbling. Let's hear what Boyce Watkins has to say, and I'm coming in with straight debuttals, and I'm on a complete damage path at this point. But enough of me babbling. Let's hear what Boyce Watkins has to say, shall we?
I was talking to a single mom the other day about the backlash that you see from so many men who think that single mothers are a waste of time. I saw a guy on my Instagram page who I dare to call him a man because this was not a masculine way of thinking at all. But he literally said that men who get with women who have children are cleanup men. He called them cleanup men. Like you're cleaning up after another man or you're doing sloppy seconds or there's something disgraceful.
And it irks you, Boyce Watkins. Let's just call a spade a spade. Because after all, didn't you married a single mother? So basically you're her cleanup man. And and the fact that he said that on Instagram, got you feeling a certain kind of way. Yes. His Instagram post got you so emotional, so deep in your feelings about it. And it's not hard to tell because I'm looking at your facial features, your facial expressions right now, that it irks. Yes, we know it hurts that he said that, which is true, by the way. But let's continue on.
About loving black kids, about being there for black children and black youth. And I just, for some reason, it made me think about that.
And that's the reason why you don't want to call him a man. Oh, he's less of a man because he says men who date and marry single mothers are cleaned up men, and it hurts. Oh my God, it hurts. Which is why you don't want to call him a man because it hurts your feelings. Yes, we get it, Boyce Watkins. We all get it. But let's continue.
Right? And I don't know if he was taking a jab at me because, I married a woman who had kids. And I don't want to give...
See what I told you. Oh, I don't know. He was saying this just to take a jab at me. Well, first off, Boyce Watkins, I don't think he even mentioned you in that post. Did he mention you? If not, why are you so emotional about it? Huh? Let's continue.
Another perspective on this, especially for the younger guys who are trying to figure out who they are and what they want to do. That's why I wanted to hit this topic. So anyway, here's what I wanted to try to address on this, right? First off, I want to say this. I want to make it clear. I always have to make this clear that I'm not advocating for anybody to make any particular relationship choice. I'm not telling anybody what they should do or should not do. I don't think, every path is not the same for everybody.
Okay, Boyce Watkins, we'll see. Let's continue on.
But one of the things that I really think that we've got to be real careful about is some of this shiesty marketing of bad black relationships. You have guys, it's so fascinating to me. You have guys literally who were raised by a single mother who will say single mothers ain't shit. You know, like, I get it if you say, look, I was raised by a single mother, it was very difficult, I don't want my children to grow up in that situation, or I don't want to be in that situation. I get that. But when you're talking down on women that are similar to the women that raised you, that is indicative of a mental health issue. That means that you have a psychological problem that you're just sort of throwing out there on the internet. And the thing you got to watch out about internet influencers is a lot of them are very unhappy people.
But aren't you an internet influencer yourself, Boyce Watkins? So by your logic, you yourself is unhappy. And before I go even further, I got a question for you, Boyce Watkins. Do you have a PhD in psychology? I'll ask you again. Do you have a PhD in psychology? Oh, you don't, Boyce Watkins? Then who the hell is you to jump in front of your camera and try to diagnose anybody with a mental illness? Last time we all checked, you only have a PhD in business marketing and economy. You're not a doctor. You didn't study in medical school. So therefore, you're not a therapist. You're not a psychiatrist. Therefore, it ain't up to you to diagnose anybody with a mental illness. And for what? Because somebody on Instagram said something that hurt your feelings? Have several seats on that issue. But let's continue. They don't have much of a life outside of their YouTube channel. Their relationships are in the garbage, but they sound good, right? And they feed into people's... Like your channel, dude? Because remember, you trying to clown internet influencers, but did you forget, Boyce Watkins? You yourself is an internet influencer. So all that shit just saying right now, you point one finger at internet influencers. Guess what? By you being an internet influencer, 3 fingers are pointing right back at you, and it's clear to see that you're unhappy. This is the reason why you're going off on a tangent. But let's continue. Frustrations and their anger and their disappointment. Like a lot of men that complain about women all day are just mad because they shot their shot for a woman that they couldn't get. They went after a girl that was outside of their pay grade, and they got mad. They felt like they should have that woman when really you didn't earn it. She didn't see you as the best option. So now, just like how your current wife didn't see you as the best option the first time around. In fact, she didn't see you as an option at all until after her previous marriage and several children later. Only then you became an option, right? I think so. Let's continue. You're pissed at all women. And what I would say to men like that is, instead of complaining about the women you can't get, either step your game up or love the women that you can get, you know? And do you say that same shit to the women as well? Oh, no, Boyce Watkins. We are not going with this one-sided bullshit. And everything you're saying about men can also be said about women as well. And we got a shit ton of women on YouTube and social media complaining about the men they can't get. You see, Boyce Watkins, you want to make things one-sided. Over here, Uncle JD calls it down the middle. If it's wrong for one side, it's wrong for the other. If it's wrong for the goose, then it's wrong for the gander. But let's continue. This idea that somehow you want to say all black women do this, all black women do that, all black women have standards that are too high, all black women are gold diggers. That's a little bit weird because, first of all, it's not true. All black women are not any one particular thing. But then also, it's kind of weird that you think that they're all gold diggers or their standards are too high. There's one simple exotic. We'll be right back.
Or their standards are too high when really you just could not meet the standard of the woman you wanted. It's not that her.
And the same can also be said for black women as well, especially for the ones complaining about black men having standards. Oh, when black men have standards, now they want to complain too. So, do you say the same thing for black women, or you want to be one-sided about this, Boyce Watkins? And that's another thing I'm going to talk about as well, which is one-sided correctness and why it never works. You see, you got people who has no problem correcting one side while don't say shit about the other side. And they believe that is a solution. In which, of course, not only is it not a solution, but it makes the problem 10 times as worse because you're trying to correct one side while ignoring the other side. In that position, guess what the side that you're trying to correct is going to do? Ignore what the fuck you have to say. Is Uncle JD lying? No, I'm not. We constantly see this day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. All that one-sided correctness does not solve the problem. It only makes the problem worse. But let's continue.
Standards are too high. It's just that her standards are higher than you. Give me a yes, you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not that her standards are too high. You just didn't meet the mark. And a lot of guys feel resentful because of that, and it makes them sound like bitter little bitches when they get online. So it's really
So by you being resentful over black men who don't want to settle for single mothers, Boyce Watkins, doesn't that also make you a bitter little bitch because you're in front of your camera complaining? Exactly. Let's continue.
Like crazy to me. But anyway, here's where I stand on the whole conversation about, stepfathers and all that. I'm biased because my biological father was not there for me.
And we greatly appreciate the fact that you are being honest when you say that you are biased. You clearly have a side, and which is no secret here. You clearly has a side. This is why you're coming on camera with this bullshit. But let's continue.
I had a father that stepped in and raised me, and he was a great man. He is a great man, and there were many benefits, I believe, to raising me. Right, it was very difficult. He could have been out, he could have been out, getting with 1,000 women, but he chose my mother, and he came home to us every day.
Okay, Grandpa. I mean, you gotta love how they come out with these back in my day theories. You see, back in my day, my biological father wasn't there for me. So another man stepped up and took care of me, and I appreciated it. And how long was that, Boyce Watkins? Late 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s? Yeah, around that time frame, stepfathers was actually appreciated around that time. But here's the thing, Boyce Watkins. This ain't the late 60s. This ain't the 70s. This ain't the 80s, nor is it the 90s. It's not even the early 2000s. We are in the here and now. And have Boyce Watkins ever listen to the men of today who played the role of being a stepfather in these days and times? I doubt it, because if he did, he would realize that nowadays being a stepfather is a thankless job compared to how it was way back when. Way back when, stepfathers were appreciated, but here and now, it's a thankless job. And Boyce Watkins, you should definitely hear the stories of these men who were stepfathers at one point. Why did they stop? Oh, you don't care about that part, Boyce Watkins. You're more concerned about, I wish things go back to the way they were. And how it's going to go back to the way, and how things are going to go back to the way they were if in the here and now, things have completely changed. Can Boyce Watkins answer that question? I doubt it, but let's continue.
And the long-term benefits is that now that he's older, he's got somebody there to take care of him. I paid off his house. I literally paid off his, he owed $100,000 or whatever on his house. I paid his house off. And what a lot of young guys should understand is that when you pour into black youth, they pour into you.
Boyce Watkins, this ain't true. What you're telling the black youth is the things that happened during your time frame when you were in your own youth. But you're not sharing the same youth as them. You're older, they're younger. So all that stuff that happened back in your time is not going to work in the here and now. Don't you get it? What happened back during the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s is not the same as what is happening now. I hope I'm not losing you yet, Boyce Watkins, but let's continue.
When you get older, do you understand what I'm saying? If you pour into black children, they're going to pour into you. Now, you obviously, the ideal scenario is you get with a woman, you have kids with her, those are your kids, and you pour into those kids, and then they pour back into you when you get older. Unfortunately, life don't always work out like that. There's a lot of divorce. There's a lot of baby mama, baby daddy stuff, and all the guys that complain about single mothers. I mean, a lot of these guys got kids. They created a single mother, so you can't complain. If you created a single mother, but you're complaining about single mothers, then you don't have a dog in the fight. You can't really.
Well, that's funny you bring that up, Boyce Watkins, because let's use your own logic here. Before you married the woman who had kids in a previous marriage, if I'm correct about this, everybody in the comment section, tell me if I'm correct. But didn't Boyce Watkins had a child from a previous marriage or relationship or whatever before he married his wife who had children from a previous marriage? If so, he's also contributing to that same problem that he's trying to lecture black men about. Hypocrisy at its finest, Boyce Watkins. So basically, by you having a kid from a previous relationship, and you're married to a woman who also has kids, you just made a single mother. Hypocrisy at its finest. And furthermore, because you are in that situation, you have no room to talk about it or complain about it yourself, but guess what else, Boyce Watkins? You have no room to talk about any man who has children who are separated from their baby mamas because you're one of them. Fucking hypocrite. Let's continue.
Talk about a problem that you helped create as if you had nothing to do with creating it, right?
And likewise, you're in that same boat too, so why is you lecturing, Boyce Watkins? You created a single mother as well, but here you are trying to lecture black men about making single mothers. You're just as part of the problem as them, but here you are trying to lecture as if you've done nothing wrong. Have several seats, Boyce Watkins. Let's continue.
That's the first thing. Second of all, you have a lot of guys who complain about single mothers who were raised by a single mother. And I think that means that you're not being careful about that conversation. You can't express your own personal perspective without being disrespectful of all the women that are doing their absolute.
And guess what, Boyce Watkins? There's a lot of single mothers out there who have sons, and guess what they tell them? Don't make sure the relationship that you're in does not end up being the same relationship their mothers have been through. In fact, I'm going to tell you something. And this was back during my college years, Boyce Watkins. I had a fellow classmate who was raised by a single mother. And he didn't find this out until his high school graduation. But I'm going to tell you this story, Boyce Watkins. You see, he grew up with a single mother. When he was little, his single mother brought another dude into the household, hoping that he will take care of the role as the single father, like how Boyce Watkins is telling the younger generation to do. Guess what happened? His stepfather molested him when he was little. And I believe this happened right when he was leaving elementary school, going on to middle school. And yes, he is serving time. He is serving time for molesting him, by the way. And ever since then, his mother would not have any other man around her son. It wasn't until he graduated out of high school that his mother told him the full truth. And you want to know what that is, Boyce Watkins? It turns out this whole entire time, his mother intentionally left his father. No, not because of anything bad, not because he was abusive, not because he was cheating on her. She just wanted to get away from his father. So basically, she chose the single mother life. And as a result, her son paid dearly for it. But the one thing his mother told him, the woman that comes in your life, don't let her make the same mistake that she made. So yes, you even got single mothers telling their sons not to be in that same predicament. Do not try to be in that same predicament, Boyce Watkins. And furthermore, just for the record, I'm from a 2-parent household. Both my parents was in my life. So you can't say all black boys was raised by single mothers. That is absolute false as well. But enough of me babbling. Let's continue.
Best based on circumstances that may have been out of their control. Again, I think that we all have some say in our own lives, but I think that generally, this sort of weird backlash is kind of.
But remember what you said earlier, Boyce Watkins, about how you're not trying to tell these men and boys that you're not trying to control what they want to do and everything, but then do a 360 turnaround and then try to tell them to settle for single mothers. That's trying to take control of their life, Boyce Watkins. But I digress. Let's continue.
A little bit too much. One of the first things.
Talk about a tangent. So basically, all this over some dude made a post on Instagram saying that any man who sells for a single mother are cleanup men, and this And this put Boyce Watkins' panties in a bunch so bad that he's just going completely off the rails. Mad at men because they ain't going to settle for single mothers. Not to mention being one-sided, even showed his own hypocrisy by trying to tell men who they can and talk about, who they can and cannot talk about for the same category that he himself fall into, which not only he can't talk about it, but he can't lecture other men about it, Boyce Watkins. So you just made yourself a complete buffoon making this video. All this shit you trying to lecture black men about, you need to learn yourself. And that's the bottom line. But I say what I have to say. If y'all want to hear the full, if y'all want to see the full video, the link to O'Shea Dudess's full video will be in the description box. I said what I had to say. I'm done with this fool. Mad and in his feelings because someone left an Instagram post that completely irked at him, and I'm out this bitch. Later.